On the morning of May 9th, 2017, Reality Winner sat down at her workstation inside a secure NSA facility in Augusta, Georgia. She was 25 years old. She had a top secret security clearance. She had been on the job for less than 3 months. She opened a classified intelligence document. She read it once. She thought about what was inside it. Then she did something that would cost her the next 5 years of her life. She pressed print. The printer produced 5 pages. She folded them in half. She tucked them into her pantyhose. She walked through security. She drove home. She mailed the document to a journalist. 6 days later, the FBI was at her door. She had no idea she had already been caught. Not by a security camera, not by a colleague, not by anything she could have seen or avoided. By her printer. Specifically by invisible yellow dots, her printer had secretly encoded onto every single page the moment she pressed print. Dots too small for the human eye to see. Dots encoding the printer's exact serial number, the date, the time, down to the minute. Dots that exist on every document your printer has ever produced, including the one it printed this morning. You were never told this existed. Reality Winner did not know it existed. And the journalists she trusted either forgot or never thought to check. This is the story of the woman who tried to warn America about an attack on its elections, who received the longest whistleblower sentence in American history, and whose printer betrayed her before she even left the building. Augusta, Georgia, May 2017. To understand what Reality Winner did and why, you have to understand what was happening in America at that exact moment. Donald Trump had been president for 4 months. James Comey had been fired as FBI director 3 days earlier. The country was having a furious national argument about whether Russia had interfered in the 2016 presidential election. Politicians were denying it, commentators were debating it, and the American public had no concrete proof one way or the other. Inside her secure NSA facility, Reality Winner had access to a classified intelligence report that answered the question directly. The report detailed a specific Russian military intelligence operation. Russian hackers, working under the direction of the GRU, Russia's military intelligence agency, had targeted a company called VR Systems. VR Systems supplied voter registration software to election officials across 8 American states. The hackers had attempted to compromise the company's systems and had sent spear phishing emails to more than 100 local election officials just days before the November 8th election. The operation was confirmed, it was documented, it was classified, and as far as Reality Winner could see, nobody in the public debate was talking about it. She had joined the Air Force at 18. She was a trained linguist fluent in Dari Pashto and Farsi. She had deployed in support of operations in Afghanistan. She had held a top secret security clearance since she was a teenager. She believed in her country deeply enough to serve it. And sitting at her workstation in May 2017, she felt her country was being lied to. She made a decision. She printed the document. She folded it in half. She tucked it into her pantyhose. She walked through the security checkpoint of one of the most secure government facilities in America without being stopped. She drove home. She addressed a plain envelope to The Intercept, the investigative news organization, co-founded by journalists who had worked with Edward Snowden. She placed the folded document inside. She sealed the envelope. She mailed it with no return address and no note. She assumed she would never be identified. She was wrong. Here is what Reality Winner did not know. Here is what the journalists at The Intercept apparently forgot. And here is what you have almost certainly never been told. In the 1980s, the United States Secret Service approached major printer manufacturers with a request. They wanted a hidden tracking system built into every color printer that would allow investigators to trace any printed document back to the machine that produced it. The manufacturers complied without public announcement, without disclosure to consumers, without any legal requirement to tell the people buying their products. The system works like this. Every color printer manufactured since the mid-1980s encodes a pattern of tiny yellow dots onto every single page it produces. The dots are approximately 1/10 of a millimeter in diameter. They are scattered across the entire surface of every page in a precise repeating grid. Under normal lighting conditions, they are completely invisible to the human eye. Under blue light or with digital image analysis, they become visible and readable. The dots encode specific information: the serial number of the printer, the model number, the date the document was printed, the time the document was printed. This information is permanently encoded into every page every time anything is printed on a color printer. The Electronic Frontier Foundation confirmed the existence of this system after years of investigation and built a public tool allowing anyone to decode the dots on their own printed documents. Xerox confirmed it, Canon confirmed it, Brother confirmed it, Hewlett-Packard confirmed it. Every major printer manufacturer eventually acknowledged the system exists. It has been running silently on every color printer sold for decades. It is running on your printer right now. Every document you have ever printed on a color printer in your home or your office contains your printer's serial number encoded in invisible dots. The date you printed it, the time you printed it. You were never told. There is no opt-out. There is nothing you can do about it. Reality Winner did not know. The journalists at The Intercept who received her document made a decision that would destroy her. When the document arrived at their offices, they recognized it as significant and potentially authentic. They wanted to verify it was real. So they photographed the document and sent those photographs directly to the NSA, asking the agency to confirm whether the document was genuine. They sent the evidence to the agency they were investigating. They sent photographs of a leaked classified document to the government while the source who risked everything to leak it was still walking free. The NSA received the photographs. Their analysts examined them. They identified the yellow dot pattern encoded on the pages. The dots told them everything: printer serial number, model number, date, time. 6:20 a.m. on May 9th, 2017, Augusta, Georgia facility. They cross-referenced the printer serial number against their internal access logs. The logs showed exactly who had used that printer at 6:20 on May 9th. Of the 6 people who had accessed the relevant classified file, only one had also made contact with the Intercept from her work computer in the weeks before the document arrived. Reality Winner. The FBI opened a formal investigation. On June 3rd, 2017, agents drove to her home in Augusta, Georgia. They knocked on her door. She let them in. The interrogation was recorded in full. Every word, every pause, every moment of a 25-year-old woman realizing in real time that her life as she had known it was finished. The full transcript was later used as the basis for a stage play called Is This a Room, performed on Broadway. Every line in the play is taken verbatim from the real FBI transcript. Nothing invented, nothing dramatized, just the real words of a real conversation between federal agents and a young woman who had mailed one document because she thought the public deserved to know the truth. She admitted printing the document. She said she had done it because she felt the information was important. She said she had not intended to harm national security. She said she was worried about her country. The FBI agents thanked her for her cooperation. She was arrested before The Intercept published the story based on her document. She was in custody when it went live. She never saw it. She was charged under the Espionage Act of 1917, a law written during World War I to prosecute German saboteurs and enemy spies, a law that has been used with increasing frequency against journalists' sources in recent decades, a law that contains no public interest defense, no whistleblower exception, no provision allowing a defendant to argue that what they revealed was true or necessary. The only question the law asks is whether classified information was disclosed without authorization. Reality Winner had disclosed classified information without authorization. That was enough. She accepted a plea agreement, 5 years and 3 months in federal prison. At the time of her sentencing, in August 2018, it was the longest sentence ever imposed on any defendant for leaking government information to the media in American history. Now consider what that sentence sat beside. General David Petraeus, 4-star general, former director of the CIA. He shared classified information, including the identities of covert intelligence officers, with his biographer, who was also his extramarital partner. He received 2 years probation and a fine of $100,000. He served no time in prison. He retained his security clearance. He is currently a partner at a private equity firm. John Deutsch, former director of the Central Intelligence Agency. He stored classified information including details about covert personnel and operations on his personal home computer, which was connected to the internet and used for personal activities. He was pardoned by President Clinton before charges were finalized. Sandy Berger, former National Security Advisor. He removed classified documents from the National Archives by concealing them in his clothing during multiple visits. He returned some, he destroyed others. He received a fine of $50,000 and community service. Reality Winner, 25-year-old contractor, annual salary $42,000. No political connections. No high-profile legal team. No powerful friends. 5 years and 3 months. She served her sentence at the Federal Medical Center Carswell in Fort Worth, Texas. She later described being mistreated by a prison guard. She developed a substance dependency inside the facility and worked to recover from it alone. She contracted COVID-19. She was placed in institutional lockdown 5 separate times. The final lockdown lasted 23 consecutive days. During much of her imprisonment, she was not provided with vegetarian meals because staff repeatedly failed to deliver them to her cell. She was released to home confinement in June 2021 after serving 4 years and 3 months of her sentence with good behavior credit. She came home to Kingsville, Texas. She came back to her mother's house. She built a paddock for a horse she named Trouble. She started training again for powerlifting competitions. The first night home, she could not sleep in a dark, quiet room. She had not experienced silence or darkness alone in 4 years. She stayed on the phone with someone listening to them play video games just to have a human voice in the space around her. She wore an ankle monitor. She had a curfew. She could not leave her neighborhood without permission. The information she risked everything to reveal. The 5-page intelligence report about Russian military hackers targeting American election systems. It ran as a news story for 1 cycle. Then it was absorbed into the noise of the news. No official was held accountable for the election security vulnerabilities the document described. No meaningful legislation passed as a direct result of what she leaked. The man whose conduct motivated her to print that document faced no legal consequences from the information she revealed. The Intercept published an internal review acknowledging that its editorial practices around source protection had fallen short of its own standards. The editor who oversaw the handling of the document kept her position. Reality Winner is still bound by the terms of her agreement and her non-disclosure agreement with the NSA. She cannot publicly discuss the document she leaked. She cannot discuss her work at the NSA. She cannot tell her own story in full. She has written a memoir. It is called I Am Not Your Enemy. Large sections of her own experience remain legally off limits to her in her own book about her own life. She coaches CrossFit in Texas. She competes in powerlifting. She has a horse named Trouble. She gave her first television interview after her release in December 2021. An HBO film called Reality was released in 2023 with actress Sydney Sweeney portraying her using only the real words from the FBI transcript. A broader film about her full story is in development. She is 33 years old. She has never denied printing that document. She has never claimed the law was wrong to prosecute her. She has said she knew there would be consequences and believed the information was important enough to accept them. And the technology that caught her, the invisible yellow dots, they are still there on every printer, running silently, encoding the serial number, the date, the time, on every page without your knowledge, without your consent, without any legal requirement to tell you. Reality winner served more time in federal prison than any whistleblower in American history for telling you that your government was covering up a foreign attack on your elections. Her printer told the government she did it. You are still not supposed to know either of those things. Now you do. And the next time you press print, think about what is on that page that you cannot see.